I just want to buy this car." The words landed like a spark in a room soaked with silence. For half a second, no one laughed. No one moved. The sentence hung in the air, too bold, too impossible, too out of place for a showroom where silence usually bowed to wealth. Then the sound came. A short chuckle. A sharp breath. A ripple of disbelief that spread across the polished marble floor like a crack in glass dot. The boy stood near the entrance, framed by towering glass walls and blinding white lights, his shadow stretching long and thin behind him. He looked impossibly small in a space built for giants. The scent of new leather, polished chrome, and expensive cologne filled the air, but he carried with him the faint smell of dust and sun of streets, of long days, of survival. His dark skin bore faint smudges of dirt, not careless but earned. His short, tightly curled black hair was uneven, slightly flattened, as though he'd slept on concrete more times than beds. The light gray t-shirt hanging from his shoulders was torn at the side, the fabric thin and worn, marked by stains that told stories no one had ever asked to hear. His faded blue jeans were too loose, cinched at the waist, the knees rubbed almost white. Over one shoulder hung a large translucent plastic bag, heavy and knotted, packed with crushed bottles, colorful wrappers, and bits of discarded life as currency, his proof of work. Yet his eyes, those were different. They were locked on the car. At the center of the showroom stood the masterpiece, a silver luxury sedan, flawless and gleaming, its body reflecting the lights like liquid metal. The iconic hood ornament rose proudly at the front, polished to perfection, catching the boy's reflection in its shine. Around the car stood three men in impeccably tailored navy blue suits, their shoes spotless, their watches expensive enough to buy entire neighborhoods. They had been laughing moments earlier, relaxed, confident, utterly at home. Until now, one of the men, the tallest, with a sharp jawline and neatly styled hair, rested his hand casually on the hood. Fingers splayed as if claiming ownership through touch alone. Another leaned back slightly, arms crossed, a grin already forming. The third adjusted his cufflinks, eyes narrowing in curiosity. Did he just say bye?" One of them asked, amusement slipping into his voice. The tallest man laughed openly now. A smooth, practiced laugh, the kind that came easily to people who never feared rejection. "Kid," he said, bending slightly at the waist, his smile wide and unthreatening. "Do you even know what you're pointing at?" The boy didn't flinch. Slowly, deliberately, he raised his arm again and extended a finger, stopping just inches from the gleaming emblem on the hood. "This car," he repeated calmly. The laughter grew louder, echoing off the glass walls. A few sales associates glanced over from across the room, some smiling awkwardly, others unsure whether to intervene. One whispered to another, eyes flicking between the boy and the men. "This car costs more than you can imagine," the second man said, his tone gentle but dismissive. "More than most people earn in a lifetime." "I know," the boy replied. Two simple words. No hesitation. "No doubt." That was when the laughter faltered. The third man, silent until now, studied the boy more carefully. His smile didn't vanish, but it tightened, as if something unexpected had brushed against his certainty. "And how exactly," he asked, "do you plan to pay for it?" The boy shifted the weight on his shoulder. The plastic bag rustled softly, its contents pressing against the thin film, bottles clicking together. He didn't lift it. He didn't open it. He simply stood there, eyes steady, breathing slow. "I didn't say I would pay today," he said. The room still. Outside the showroom, people had begun to stop. A woman with shopping bags slowed her pace. A man waiting for a ride leaned closer to the glass. Phones came out, unnoticed at first, then more and more, lenses quietly pointed inward. Inside, the tallest man straightened up, amusement returning, but tinged now with irritation. "You can't just walk in here and, why not?" The boy interrupted. That earned him silence. The billionaire, because that was what the tallest man was. Looked down at the child, his smile fading into something sharper. He had been laughed at before, challenged before, questioned before, but never like this. Never by someone who had nothing and yet stood as if he belonged. "You don't belong here," the man said calmly, firmly. "This place isn't for people like me." The boy finished quietly. The question wasn't angry, it was honest. For a brief moment, something flickered across the billionaire's face, annoyance, perhaps, or discomfort. He opened his mouth to reply, but then his eyes drifted downward and froze, because just below the torn hem of the boy's shirt, partially hidden, was something that didn't fit the story anymore. Something that made the billionaire's breath catch. Something that didn't belong on a homeless child standing in a luxury showroom. His laughter died instantly, and the room held its breath. The billionaire's eyes remained fixed, unblinking, for a moment. The world inside the showroom seemed to tilt, just slightly, like a glass set too close to the edge of a table. The soft hum of the air conditioning continued. The lights stayed bright. The car's polished surface reflected everything perfectly. Everything, except what the billionaire was feeling, because there, peeking out from beneath the torn side of the boy's shirt, was a thin strip of dark metal, curved and unmistakable. Not a toy. Not trash. Not something scavenged. It was smooth, precision-made, worn not by neglect, but by use. A custom-engineered wrist device, partially hidden, secured snugly against the boy's skin. The billionaire knew technology. He had funded companies that built satellites. He owned patents so complex, entire teams struggled to understand them. He had seen prototypes years before the public ever dreamed of them. And this was not something a homeless child should be wearing. The laughter behind him died out one by one. The second man noticed the shift first, his grin faltering as he followed the billionaire's gaze. The third leaned forward slightly, eyes narrowing, curiosity sharpening into focus. "What is that?" One of them muttered. The boy instinctively lowered his arm. Too late. "You've got quite the accessory there," the billionaire said, his voice carefully neutral now, stripped of mockery. "Mind telling me where you got it?" The boy didn't answer immediately. His fingers tightened around the strap of the plastic bag slung over his shoulder. For the first time since he'd spoken, his eyes flicked not away, but sideways toward the exit. A salesman cleared his throat nervously. "Sir, should I call security?" "No," the billionaire said without looking back. The word landed heavy. The boy swallowed. "It's mine," he said finally. "That much is obvious," the billionaire replied. "The question is how." Silence stretched again. Outside the glass walls, more people had gathered. A quiet crowd now watched, drawn by instinct to something unfolding they didn't yet understand. The boy took a slow breath. "I built it. That did it." A sharp laugh burst from the second man before he could stop himself. "You expect us to believe?" I said, no laughing. The billionaire snapped. The room froze. The boy lifted his eyes again, meeting the billionaire's gaze head-on. There was no fear there. No arrogance either. Just certainty. "You built it," the billionaire repeated slowly. "Where?" "Wherever I could," the boy answered. "Abandoned workshops, junkyards, closed schools. Anywhere with power long enough for me to work." The billionaire stepped closer. The difference in their height was striking. The difference in their lives, immeasurable. Yet now they stood barely a meter apart, bound by a single impossible claim. "That device," the billionaire said, lowering his voice, "uses layered micro-actuators and adaptive calibration. The casing alone would cost." "I didn't buy the casing," the boy interrupted. "I made it from scrap medical steel. Melted it, recast it, filed it down by hand." The billionaire stopped breathing. The boy continued, words flowing now, like a dam had cracked. "The internal logic runs on repurposed processors. Old hospital equipment. Thrown away. Still good. People throw away things that still work. The third man stepped forward. "This is insane," he whispered. "He's a kid." The billionaire raised a hand, silencing him. "Show me," he said to the boy. The boy hesitated. "I won't take it from you," the billionaire added. "I promise." Slowly, cautiously, the boy pulled back the torn fabric of his shirt and revealed the full device strapped to his wrist. It was compact, elegant in a raw, unfinished way. Tiny engraved markings lined the edges, not decorative, but functional. Hand-etched calibrations. The billionaire's eyes widened. "My God," he murmured. "What does it do?" Someone asked. The boy glanced at the car. "It listens," he said. "To what?" the billionaire asked. "Machines," the boy replied. "They talk. People just don't hear them." The billionaire felt a chill run through him. "Turn it on," he said. The boy hesitated again, then tapped the side of the device twice. A faint, almost inaudible hum filled the air, more felt than heard. The car's lights flickered briefly. The dashboard screen inside blinked on, even though the keys were nowhere near it. Gasps rippled through the room. The boy closed his eyes, his fingers hovering just above the hood ornament, not touching it. "The engine's been started too many times without warming properly," he said quietly. "Cylinder 3 runs hotter than the others. It'll fail early if you keep pushing it like this." The billionaire's blood ran cold. Only 3 people in the world knew about that issue, and the boy standing in front of him wasn't supposed to be one of them. "Who taught you?" the billionaire whispered. The boy opened his eyes. "No one." The billionaire straightened slowly. In that moment, the joke vanished completely. The showroom, the crowd, the car, all of it faded into the background. All he could see was a child. The world had ignored. In the mind it had no right to waste. Asterisk. The billionaire didn't speak right away. He turned slowly toward the men behind him, executives, engineers, investors, people who were used to being the smartest in any room. Every one of them looked unsettled now. One man had gone pale. Another stared at the boy as if trying to solve a puzzle that refused to fit inside logic. "You all heard that," the billionaire said quietly. "About cylinder 3. One of the engineers swallowed hard. That information was never released. We buried it after the prototype phase." The billionaire nodded once, then looked back at the boy. "You didn't just listen to the engine," he said. "You analyzed its behavior in real time." The boy shrugged. "It's just patterns." "Just patterns," the billionaire repeated, almost smiling, almost. He circled the car slowly, eyes never leaving the boy. "Do you know what this car costs?" The boy nodded. "A lot. How much?" "More than most people will make in their whole lives," the boy said. "But less than what it's worth." That answer landed harder than any demonstration. The billionaire stopped. "Worth to whom?" The boy looked at the car, not with greed, not with envy, but with something closer to understanding. "To someone who knows how to take care of it." A murmur rippled through the crowd again. Phones were out now. Someone in the back whispered that this was going to go viral. The billionaire ignored them all. "What's your name?" he asked. The boy hesitated. "Eli, no last name?" The boy shook his head. "Not anymore." The billionaire nodded, as if he understood more than he let on. "Eli," he said, tasting the name. "If what you're showing me is real, and it appears to be, then you're standing on something extraordinary." Eli shifted uncomfortably. "I just wanted to buy the car." A few people laughed nervously, but it died quickly. "You don't even have money," one of the men blurted out. Eli turned to him calmly. "I didn't say I'd pay with money." The showroom went dead silent. The billionaire felt his pulse quicken. "Then how?" Eli reached into his plastic bag. Several people tensed. One guard took a half step forward. The billionaire raised a hand. Let him. Eli pulled out a battered notebook. The cover was torn, edges darkened with dirt and use. He opened it carefully, revealing page after page of dense sketches, schematics, equations, diagrams layered over diagrams. Some were crossed out, rewritten, improved. Others were annotated with tiny notes in cramped handwriting. The billionaire took the notebook with both hands dotted first. He frowned, then his expression changed. These are... He flipped a page. Predictive feedback loops. Another page. Adaptive learning matrices. Another. This solves a problem my best team hasn't cracked in 3 years. His voice dropped to a whisper. This isn't theoretical. This is executable. Eli nodded. I tested it. Where? One of the engineers demanded. Eli pointed at the car. Here, and others. The billionaire closed the notebook slowly. How many? He asked. 7 cars. 2 generators. 1 train engine, Eli said. The train one was loud. Someone laughed in disbelief. The billionaire did not. Instead, he did something that shocked everyone present. He held the notebook out, then handed it back. This belongs to you, he said. The crowd murmured again. Louder this time. You're not even going to keep it? One man hissed. The billionaire turned sharply. I don't steal from children. He faced Eli again. You said you wanted to buy the car. Why? Eli looked down, then up. Because if I can make something like this work, he said softly, then maybe I can make other things work too. Things that don't. The billionaire felt something tighten in his chest. What things? He asked. Eli hesitated, then spoke so quietly only those closest could hear. Homes, power grids, water systems, places where machines fail and people pay the price. For a long moment, no one said anything. Then the billionaire exhaled slowly. You don't need a car, he said. You need a workshop. Eli blinked. I don't want charity. Good, the billionaire replied. Neither do I. He turned to the salesman. Clear the room, sir. The salesman stammered. Now. Security moved. The crowd protested. Phones lowered reluctantly as people were ushered out. Within minutes, the massive showroom stood nearly empty, just the car, the men in suits, and the boy with the torn shirt and impossible mind. The billionaire leaned against the hood. Here's my offer, he said. You come with me. You work, you build. You break things and fix them again. In return, you get food, shelter, education, and access to resources you've never had. Eli studied him carefully. What do you get? The billionaire smiled faintly. The truth. About what's possible. Eli considered this. And the car? The billionaire glanced at it, then back at the boy. If you can improve it, he said, it's yours. Eli's eyes widened, not with greed, but with something far more dangerous. Hope. Outside. Thunder rolled faintly in the distance. Something big had begun. Asterisk. The storm arrived just as the showroom emptied. Rain streaked down the glass walls, blurring the city beyond into long shimmering lines of light. Inside, the silence felt heavier, now not awkward, not tense, but expectant. The silver luxury car stood at the center, untouched, its polished surface reflecting the boy and the billionaire, as if the room itself were holding its breath. Eli stood beside the car, his plastic bag still slung over his shoulder. He hadn't moved since the doors closed. He hadn't smiled. He hadn't celebrated. If anything, he looked smaller now, like the weight of possibility was heavier than the weight of poverty ever had been. Billionaire watched him carefully. You don't trust this, Billionaire said quietly. Eli shook his head. I trust machines, he replied. People change. The billionaire nodded. Understanding that sentence cost him more than he liked to admit. You're right, he said. People do change. That's why I won't ask you to believe me. He walked to the driver's side of the car and opened the door. Then he did something no one in that room expected, not even Eli. He placed the keys on the roof. They stay here, the billionaire said. You don't come with me. I come with you. Eli frowned. Why? Because you didn't come here to be rescued, the billionaire said. You came here to make something better. He gestured toward the car. So let's start with that. They worked through the night. Not with teams. Not with engineers. Just the two of them and the machine between them. Eli climbed beneath the hood, pointing out inefficiencies the billionaire had never considered. Heat patterns. Stress points. Redundant safeguards that slowed isolates instead of protecting them. The billionaire listened, not as an owner, not as an investor, but as a student. For the first time in years, he didn't speak to be heard. He spoke to learn. By morning, the rain had stopped. Sunlight poured through the glass again, softer now, warmer. The car sat quietly, changed in ways no one could see, but both of them could feel. Eli wiped his hands on his jeans. It'll last longer now, he said. And waste less. The billionaire smiled. Not wide, not triumphant. Just real. Then it's worth more than I paid for it, he said. Eli hesitated. You still don't know how I'll pay. The billionaire walked over to the plastic bag and lifted it gently. This, he said, is proof of work. He handed it back. And this, he gestured to the notebook peeking from inside the bag, is proof of value. He paused, then added, the car was never the deal. Eli looked up at him. Then what was? The future, the billionaire replied. Weeks later, the story spread not as a scandal, not as a joke, but as a quiet shift. A private workshop appeared on the edge of the city, funded anonymously. No press releases. No speeches. Just open doors and working lights. Eli arrived every morning, still in worn clothes. Still carrying his bag. Still building things that shouldn't have worked, but did. The silver car stayed in the workshop, never sold, never shown. Not a trophy, a reminder, and sometimes late at night, when the billionaire walked through the quiet halls of his company, he would stop and think about the day a homeless boy walked into a showroom and asked to buy a car, not because he had money, but because he had vision. And for the first time in his life, the billionaire understood something simple and devastatingly true. The most valuable things in the world don't come with price tags. They come with courage.